What's my take on the phenomenon of interdependence as a practitioner of philosophy is a very interesting question, and again it has some obvious references to Buddhism, so let me start with those. It's pretty clear, and to a philosopher very interesting, if we start looking at the second truth and the ontological consequences. We come up with the theory of dependent origination, or the theory of dependent arising, depending how you translate it. And philosophically, this is really fascinating because it asserts, essentially, to my understanding, that nothing, no entity in this world has any separate, permanent existence or unchanging essence that marks it off as being this as opposed to something else. If this is true, and I'm saying it probably is because what we see is a world of change and a world of flux, the only question is how rapidly or how slowly are things changing, but everything looks like it's always changing, from living beings who obviously go through a cycle of transformation that we call birth and life and death, to inanimate objects which, left to their own devices, will change over time into other things. So matter and energy are constantly transforming and moving. So if this is true, that nothing exists independently and permanently outside of this flux or inside of it, then in fact there are no things independent of any other things. There is only a huge flux of matter energy that's constantly in motion and transformation, and therefore everything is related to everything else. And indeed, again, you could look at physics and its understanding of the laws and the forces that govern our cosmos and see that this is true. Gravity is the weakest force at short distance, but in the long run, it's that which governs everything. It permeates the entire universe, in a sense, connecting everything that's material. And there are other forces and fields of energy which connect non-material phenomena as well. Consciousness, I believe, is a field as well, by the way, although it's not one studied by physics, it's one studied by Buddhists. I think that consciousness radiates from sentient beings as a kind of field, and that's how we interact with one another. Not so much as embodied beings. I mean, we share food, but we share consciousness, we share ideas, and we share mindfulness, and then we come to know each other through our minds, which we cannot observe, but which we know in some deeper way. So this interdependence is made even more obvious by technology. If we look at the internet and its capacity now to connect us to people who were formerly in remote places. Now you can send an email to the other side of the world and receive a reply instantaneously. Space and time are shrunk. Yes, what Marshall McLuhan called the global village is really palpable now because we're all interconnected. And in point of fact, economically, what globalization does and strives to do is to feed, clothe, shelter, and energize and transport people and processes all throughout the global village. This takes an enormous amount of cooperation and interconnectedness. The things that we wear, the things that we eat, and the cars that we drive are not made in one place anymore. They're brought in from all over the world. Whether we know it or not, we are connected to people and their labor everywhere on this planet, and I hope soon beyond. So the interconnectedness of human beings, which Buddhism philosophized about a long, long time ago, is now made vitally real for us by these very technologies that basically inform and enable the modern world.